Welcome to Prepared Enough, a podcast for moms who want to lighten the mental load of motherhood and create homes where kids can thrive. I'm your host, Natasha Mila, former teacher, mom of four, and firm believer that a well-prepared home can do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. During each episode, we'll explore simple ways to design organized, intentional spaces and rhythms that build your child's responsibility and bring more ease into your day. So if you're ready to create a home that works with you and not against you, you're in the right place. Hit follow and let's get started. Hi, friend. Welcome to the Prepared Enough podcast. We are here today to prepare our minds and our hearts for the holidays with 10 ideas to help you simplify your holidays. I apologize for the lack of podcast episode last week. We had no internet at our house for over an entire week. We have satellite internet, and so our actual modem broke, and so we needed them to ship us a new one, and that just took a week in and of itself figuring that out. And we had gone without it for a couple days prior, and then we went straight into going up north where we have zero cell service and definitely no internet. And so that's okay because we don't want it up there anyway. So that's why you didn't have a podcast episode last week. So I apologize, but we are here today. We had a great, relaxing time up north this last weekend. We didn't do any crazy adult fall hiking. I kind of was hoping for a little adult hike, but the weather was kind of crummy on the day that we probably would have done that. And we still got a lot of outdoor time just around their little neighborhood, I guess you would call it, up north. So yeah, we got to walk through some fall leaves, and our kids found a zip line at one of the neighbors' houses. So that was super fun because they kept asking, can we go back to the zip line? And we got to have a lot of relaxing time in the little cabin up north, which was super nice. And super nice to be able to visit with my grandparents and my parents for a long period of time. Anyway, we hope you had a good weekend too. This lack of podcast episode last week kind of messed with my podcasting schedule, which is totally fine because that's never super set in stone or anything. I'm not a super famous podcast, so it doesn't really matter. I am just letting you know that we are moving into November and we'll be talking about simplifying our kid toys kind of before we have influx of toys for the holidays and things for the holidays coming into our house, and kind of simplifying our kids' things because that's kind of what gets out of hand really quickly. And then we'll be in December with the holidays and some podcast episodes around that. And then moving forward into the next year, into 2026, we are going to start looking at simple ideas in your homes and different spaces of your homes, and how you can kind of help your kids get a lot more independent in different areas, and kind of looking at different spaces and being asking yourself what you want that space to look like in your home, what you want the environment to feel like in your living room. Do you want your kids running around like crazy? Maybe you do. And if you don't, then how can you create that calmer environment in your living room by organizing furniture and what kinds of toys to include in those spaces? And if you don't want any toys at all, that's totally fine. So we're going to kind of look at different spaces and really think through what you're actually wanting those spaces to feel like, look like, and how you can have that happen. Some ideas of how you can make that happen in your home. So we will be starting off the new year with that. And I think we're going to do maybe an entire year kind of around that. We'll see where we end up going with that. But yeah, we're definitely starting the better half of the year with podcast episodes in regards to that. So yeah. Okay. So moving ahead onto today's episode, I also wanted to tell you that I actually wrote today's episode out as a newsletter format too. So if you subscribe to me on Substack, you'll kind of notice that I wrote it out in a newsletter format, but I'm not reading it word for word on this podcast. You are just listening to a conversation around the same topic, but I followed the outline of this chit chat when I wrote the newsletter too. So I am excited because we have Halloween coming up on Friday. I mean, technically we missed our trick-or-treating last weekend because we were up north, but this past weekend, I should say. And, but we were going to go trick-or-treating. I'm not sure if we're going to. I think we might just go to my mom's house and have like a little Halloween gathering. My newest niece is going to be at her house, so I want to go hang out over there too. But I'm excited anyway because Halloween means once Halloween is over, we get to decorate for Christmas. I might wait until the next weekend and just, save my husband's sanity just slightly instead of like the day after Halloween, though it is super tempting to get stuff out the day after Halloween. I am not a big Halloween decorator or anything like that. Maybe one day. I mean, I probably one day will have like a more cute fall front porch or something, but it's not that time. But anyway, but yeah, and I don't really feel like I'm going to have like fall decorations inside my house. I just don't really do like house decor. If anything, the kids like paint pictures or color pictures and they can hang those up on the wall or something or on the window. We have like a big window they can put stuff up and it looks festive then because it's like in the middle of our house. Anyway, our house is not that big. So if you decorate like the one large window in our main living area, you kind of have decorated the main living area. Anyway, I love Christmas and I love decorating for Christmas. We have nothing like super crazy when it comes to decorations, but we definitely have some decorations. I mean, we have like a garland that we hang from our living room beam, which really makes a difference in the space. And then we have little garlands we kind of hang elsewhere, and we have a real Christmas tree. I have always thought about getting a fake Christmas tree because that would mean I could decorate it earlier because we don't usually get the real Christmas tree until like Thanksgiving weekend, so it stays healthy and alive for Christmas. And we have cut our own down in the past, and we also have just bought it from like the corner near our house. So I don't know what we'll do this year. Anyway, honestly though, Christmas trees are so expensive, like real ones. And so you think, if I bought a fake tree, even like a super nice one when it was on sale for like a couple $100, that's like, you make it back in like 3 years because Christmas trees are so expensive. It's crazy. Anyway, okay. So moving on, we love decorating for Christmas, but I just, I know everybody doesn't. So I'm just talking about it here. Okay. We're moving on to talking about how busy the holiday season can feel and how we can kind of make it feel a little less busy and a little more simple. I mean, it would really be silly to think that you could make the holiday season less busy than any regular season of life. I mean, it's just inevitable. There are family gatherings, there is gift buying, there are just more obligations than usual. So some sort of busyness is a little bit inevitable. But we can make that busyness more manageable and not like so excessive. You don't have to do so many things. The holidays just kind of are special for our kids. We don't have to create that special feeling in all these complicated ways, even if they're fun ways. For our kids, we don't have to do all the fun things. And honestly, if we do like too many of the fun things, sometimes we're just stressed out, and that's not fun for our kids either because they're feeling our stress and we're stressed and just nobody's having a great time even though we're doing all of these fun things. So in my opinion, like a little bit less and more simple is actually fun. Now, the problem, and it gets a little tricky, because it's hard to say no to good, fun things, right? Now, okay, so for example, it would be really hard to be like, I'm going to say no to an invitation where we were invited to go volunteer at a soup kitchen, but I'm going to say yes to a family cookie exchange the next day. One of those things benefits many people, and it's a great thing to do. one of those things is like just for fun and it's kind of selfish, right? But if we say no to the fun cookie exchange, we're disappointing our families and we're probably going to hear about it from them. And if we say no to the soup kitchen volunteer opportunity, we have to like look these friends of ours in the eyes and be like, hi, I'm so sorry. I'm a horrible human. I'd rather go decorate cookies with my family instead. Like we're going to look and feel like horrible people. So it makes it seem like both are non-negotiable things to do, right? So this is where it kind of gets a little tricky. Now, I can't tell you what to do in that scenario, but I'm just going to give you some like little pieces of advice that kind of help me and, that you can kind of think of. Okay, so one way to kind of help navigate decisions is to think about your schedule and your to-do list the same way that you think about your physical things, okay? So like physical items can become clutter, right? And calendar events and to-dos can also become clutter. Like physical items require time to care for, and calendar events and to-dos require time to care for and time to prep for, right? So just like we might ask ourselves in regards to our physical items, like what is enough? Like we can ask ourselves the same thing in regards to our schedule and our to-dos. So if you want to like maybe think about like clothing or something as an example, we can think like we have this closet space, right? And so we're going to fill our closet space. And we're thinking of how we're going to fill that closet space. And we're asking ourselves, like, how much clothing is enough for me in this season of my life, in this weather season, like is it winter, summer, fall, and with all the outdoor activities that I do. So then you can ask yourself kind of the same thing in regards to the holiday season. Like when you're looking at your November and your December calendars and you start to fill out your to-do lists with all the gifts to buy, food to make, traditions to take care of, fun to be had, and like try to check in with those things, each of those to-dos and each event, and ask yourself, like, is this in too much? Am I like past my capacity? Similar to like how you'd be past your closet capacity if you had too many clothes, or past the capacity of like clothing that you wanted to manage, Like, are you trying to justify overflowing the capacity of your closet space by keeping clothing in a guest room closet? Just like, are you trying to justify overbooking yourself by telling yourself like your body can sleep after Christmas, right? So just try to think of your physical, like just like you think of your physical items as clutter, think of your to-do list and your schedule as being able to be clutter, And then, think about it in regards to your kids too. So for me, my kids kind of feed off of my stress levels, and honestly, they can handle a lot more than I can in regards to like overstimulation kind of. But that's not always the case. But I do, so you can ask, am I doing too much for for them? Are they overstimulated? Are they stressed out? Is this just all too much and they aren't getting good sleep, like et cetera, because that might be true too. But I find, in all honesty, I am usually the one that gets overstimulated first, so I'm kind of the problem. So our kids can kind of handle all the extra fun around the holidays, and most of the holiday to-dos fall on my plate, right? Not theirs. So if the kids are seeming overstimulated, it's probably because I am the one stressing them out with my own stress, right? So they feed off of my mood. Like when I'm overstimulated, so are they. So for us, at least in our family, in regards to the holidays, I can kind of selfishly ask myself, is this too much for me? Knowing that the answer to this is probably the answer for my entire family, which is just a little bit of pressure, right? So I have some lists for us. So I have 2 lists with like a grand total of 10 ideas to help you keep your holidays a little bit more simple. One is a list of strategies for simplifying, and the other is a list of guiding questions to help you make wiser decisions around the holidays. So strategies to simplify the holidays. 1. So we have 6 strategies. So we have the first one is like, Think of doing a holiday dump by writing every calendar event down. So like get out a notebook, you're going to do a writing dump, or you can get out a Google Doc or like a notes app, whatever, to type it up. And you're going to write down every holiday calendar event, or every event, I should say, in your calendar for like November, December. Every tradition that you know you're going to do, every gift idea, etc. Like anything you can think of that kind of points towards the holidays, write all of that down before you can narrow your list down. But this will help you get everything out on paper, because I feel like a lot of times, half of the stress is just the unknown. Like you haven't thought through everything yet. And if you put it on paper, you're like, oh, that can be released from my brain. And now I can see it on this piece of paper. And then when you have everything down, this can kind of help you identify where you're overcommitting yourself before it snowballs, right? Okay, so do a holiday dump is the first strategy. And then obviously you're going to have to narrow it down from there, right? But the dump itself is kind of the stress relief. All right, and then you're going to be able to simplify from there. Now, number 2, if you are a person that has a hard time saying no to things and tends to overbook themselves, consider scheduling in no plan days. So like scheduling in a margin is always important, right? But especially in busy seasons such as the holidays. This also kind of gives you an excuse, like if you're trying to, I feel like I have a hard time saying no when I don't actually have a reason to say no. So if I'm like looking at my schedule and I see no plan day or something in there, or I literally schedule in at nighttime on Wednesday and Thursday nights or whatever, like no plans, then I can respond to somebody because I see that in my schedule as an actual plan to have no plans, right? So somebody's like, oh, do you want to go do this event on Wednesday night, like the 13th or whatever? And then I'm like, no, actually, I'm not available that day. Right? So it just gives me an excuse to say no, even though it literally would be the same thing if it wasn't actually in my schedule, but it's just a mind game, right? Okay, so scheduling no plan days, that's number 2. Number 3, in order to think, in like the order of thinking of your gifts should kind of like go in this order. That was very confusing. When you're thinking of your gifts and like what to buy for your gifts, this is how you should think of it. 1, you should decide on a budget, right? Then you should choose how many gifts you want to give to each of your people, right? So like, are you giving grandparents 1 gift, or are you giving them multiple gifts? Are you giving your kids 5 gifts? Like, what is your number that you kind of want to give to each of these people? Brainstorm and write down ideas for all the people. And I personally like to purchase things while I brainstorm, but this is not a good idea. So don't do this. Do not do as I say, not as I do. Don't do this, because it really gets me into trouble with my budget and just like generally having too many gifts for certain people, and then I have to like make up for it and all the things, right? So do not purchase as you brainstorm, but just kind of brainstorm and finish that list first, and then decide on the gifts that you want to purchase, and you can try to fit them within your budget, or you can kind of just decide on the gifts that you want to purchase, and then as you're looking at things, you can make edits as needed to fit your budget, right? So you always have the budget in mind. That's the first thing that you're going to decide on, and then you're kind of going to go through it's fine if you don't have a budget. If that's not a problem for you too, that's not a big deal, right? But just decide on how many people you're getting gifts for, how many for each of those people, and then brainstorm ideas, and then purchase the things that you need and make edits as you go, right? Okay, number 4, wrap your gifts as they come in. Now, again, I don't always abide by this, but it is kind of helpful, and I always am happy with myself when I do this. Doing this for like at least non-immediate family members who you're only getting like 1 gift for, that's like super nice and easy thing to do, right? Because you're just like, this is the gift I'm getting them. It's done. Like this, I already ordered it. It's already here. I have this gift for them. Why not just wrap it right away, right? And then make sure you have like a designation spot for wrapped packages and gifts or something. Wrapped gifts, I should say, not wrapped packages. Wrapped gifts, and then also maybe a spot for like incoming packages. And then obviously you need a hidden spot for like your immediate family gifts because they can't see them. Yeah. Okay. So wrap gifts as they come in is number 4. Number 5, prep the teacher, coach, coworker, neighbor gifts in bulk. So if you have a bunch of teachers you're getting gifts for, probably get them all the same thing, right? Or like little things different, whatever. Buy them all in bulk, prep them all in bulk, get those all wrapped up and get them wrapped early because they all have to get out to those people before Christmas, because sometimes it's hard to remember that all those gifts are going to be like mid-November gifts, right? Or not mid-November, mid-December gifts, right? Because they're coming in, like you're not going to be at school until the 25th of December. Now this year's kind of weird, but most years you might be off like a week before or like a couple days before, so you got to kind of get those in early. The last simplification strategy is to simplify your gift giving as much as possible. So consider doing something like consumables only or something for extended family to simplify your brain when you're brainstorming gifts for everybody. You could maybe consider getting godparents all the same gift, such as like candles or something like that. Maybe you're going to give all your nieces and nephews the same gift, like a gift card for ice cream and a book or something like that, So just try to like simplify your plan for gifts, and that's going to help you buy stuff within those boundaries. Because honestly, that's like the most stressful thing about this world is like there's no boundaries. You can literally get anything that you want. Like if you want to Google the most wonky item, it will pop up on Google, right? So you can literally get anything. So having some sort of boundary makes your life a lot simpler, right? Okay. And then we have some guiding questions, which I think these are like really helpful. And these are going to help you kind of make wiser decisions around the holidays. So we have 4 of these. So the first one is, as you're thinking about your schedule and your to-do list and you're looking at all those things that you kind of maybe brainstormed on your big dump, your holiday dump that you wrote out, and you think to yourself, if I do all of this, how will I feel on December 26th? Will I be totally exhausted and hate the holiday season? Or am I going to feel like that was so much fun, I had a blast with my family, let's look forward to next year, right? So think about how you're going to feel on December 26th if you try to do all of the things that you want to do, okay? Anyway, number 2, so that's the first question. If I do all of this, how will I feel on December 26th? Number 2, have I given myself enough scheduled margin so I can get my to-do list completed and enjoy myself and my family? So it's kind of like a very similar question, but it is, a little more directed, right? So have you scheduled enough time off so that you're obviously how will I feel on December 25th? Like I hope you enjoyed yourself and your family, right? But are you scheduling enough time to actually get your to-do list done? That's a big thing to look at, because usually your to-do list is longer than usual because it's the holidays, right? Like we just talked about this earlier in the episode. It's inevitable that there's more busyness because it just is busier during the holidays, and that it just is, right? So you can't do anything about that. You're going to have a little bit more on your plate. So do you have actual time to get your things done? I am not great at doing this. That time usually comes out of my sleep. Not all the time though. And so I am trying to get better at scheduling enough time to get my to-do list completed and still like enjoy everything about my family and everything like that, like normal, right? Okay, number 3, what can you do sooner? Like what can you do now that will make your closer to the holiday self more calm? So are there some things that you can do in advance? Like we said before, maybe you can brainstorm things like wrapping your gifts a little bit earlier, or wrapping them as they come in, or just having an actual plan on track a little bit sooner than you normally would, right? Not like, waiting until mid-December to be buying all the gifts. Like, how can you make your later self a little bit more calm and a little bit more ready to enjoy the holidays? That's the question here. Okay, last but not least, it's my favorite question. Is there a way for you to make what you're already doing into a tradition instead of creating a new tradition? So I feel like this one is a really good one to ask, because I feel like we get caught up on creating traditions for our families as if we need to like have some super fancy, sparkly, fun ideas that we see on Pinterest and on Instagram and whatever. And then we're like, and then we need to do that every single year and stress ourselves out, right? Honestly, we are already creating traditions, whether we like it or not. So are we creating traditions that we love and our family loves? You know, like it's a combination, right? Like we have to like the tradition if we're going to help put it on, right? And then our kids have to like it too. So, and then also like, are you rushing around? Like, you know, so just think about your traditions, because you're already doing them. So is your normal Christmas morning like relaxed and calm? Is that what you want your tradition to look like in the morning on Christmas? Or are you like rushing around, like quickly trying to get out of the house? Are you just like shoving cereal at your kids? Like, what is your kind of holiday season? You know, you can look at the whole month of December. You can look at just the holidays, whatever you're thinking of for traditions. But is what you're already doing right now actually the tradition that you want to be creating? And I'm not talking about the things that you've like designated as actual quote unquote tradition. I'm talking about like your regular stuff that you normally do, because that is your tradition, right? Like your kids are going to remember all the things that you are already doing. And so think about everything as a tradition, right? Now, you can kind of look at some things that you don't love about your holiday season and think, how can you change that into something that you want to remember in a positive light? Like how can you change that bad into a good tradition? So for example, like we are in a transitional period where like our extended families are still kind of figuring out what the holidays look like, because all of us adult siblings have our own families now and our schedules are kind of like overlapping, and I don't know. So we just can never know when we're going to have our actual holiday events. But my personal boundary, and what some might call a quote unquote tradition, is that we are not running out the door on Christmas morning, on Christmas Day, right? We don't always have to be somewhere Christmas Day, but in the years past, we have had to go somewhere on Christmas morning. And those same years, we've had to be somewhere on Christmas Eve, often until a late night, like 9-10 p.m., and then have like an hour and a half of travel time with a bunch of little humans, and then we're going to wake back up on Christmas morning, quick open our presents, and then get out the door. Like it can be a bit crazy, right? Because I don't like to rush around on Christmas morning in our own house. I thought that this year, because we usually do like normal breakfast or whatever, but I've always wanted to do like a special kind of breakfast for Christmas morning, right? And so this year, what I'm doing to change our tradition is I am going to come up with a special breakfast that comes in the form of a freezer meal. Because honestly, a lot of like the meals that you see as like make ahead Christmas morning breakfast, you're making that ahead on Christmas Eve. It's like a 12-hour sit around in the refrigerator kind of meal, which is like not what I'm looking for, because sometimes we're running around on Christmas Eve, right? And then we're like dragging kids in from the sleeping car and like unpacking gifts from the trunk of our car and putting in our own gifts under the tree. And when we have like a few hours of sleep, like I'm not also prepping breakfast for the next day that same night, right? Like I don't want to do that. So to try to have like a tiny bit of relaxation on Christmas morning, but also have a special breakfast of sorts, I am planning this year to freeze a breakfast casserole ahead of time and to freeze some sort of sweet bread, probably pumpkin chocolate chip bread, because we have a ton of extra pumpkins that needs to be used up this year. So that's just probably what it's going to be. But that is just kind of like a way that we are creating a special breakfast tradition that was super easy for me to prep. It's actually like one of my favorite things to have a freezer meal, right? Maybe I'll make, instead of the special like pumpkin bread, maybe we'll have like a French toast bread with like fruit on top or something like that. We'll just kind of do like 2 oven casserole type of things. Whatever. I don't know what I'm going to do exactly yet, but I have some things in mind. But that is just like an easy way to kind of take something that was maybe not super special that I wanted to be a little bit more special. We are already eating breakfast, so I'm making something special that was already going to happen So it doesn't have to be like a lengthy process. Like I don't have to make from scratch pancakes with like fruit compote and bacon for it to be like a special tradition. Like it doesn't have to be complicated to be special, right? So that's that. I guess, okay, so like on another example of like taking something that you do, we already do this. So like taking something that you are already doing and making it a special tradition for the holidays. So for example, we don't try to like add things into your day, is what I'm trying to tell you. So like we already read stories at bedtime, right? Instead of just reading any book during the holidays, we read Christmas books and then we add in a short Advent story. But it's like we usually would read like 1 or 2 books. So now we're just reading 1 book and a short Advent book story thing, So it's like already something that we would have been doing, just kind of changed a little bit for the holidays. But it's not something like a huge extra thing to add to your day, right? I feel like people tend to like view traditions as like highlight reels, right? Just try to think of them in a little bit more of a simple way. And honestly, you're probably not going to stick with it as well if you try to like add it into your already busy schedule during the holidays. Like if you're like every morning during the 5-minute breakfast that we have during the school week, we are going to light a candle and we're going to read from our Advent devotional. And like, you're not going to do it. I mean, like sometimes there's a few people that might do this, but like, I feel like generally speaking, a lot of times that's where you fall off, right? And so you want to keep it as simple as you can because you're definitely going to stick with it if it's something super simple or something that you're already doing, just altered a little bit, right? During the busy seasons, you're not trying to add more to your plate, right? Okay, generally speaking, try to simplify, right? Try to just take those strategies, take those questions, and try to simplify a little bit. And you're going to be busier than usual. And honestly, you just have to kind of like take Dory's advice, right? From Finding Nemo. Just keep swimming. Just keep doing the thing. Just keep trucking along on the to-do list. You don't have to work your booty off where you're so exhausted by the end of the day, but like you do have to do a little bit more than usual, and it just is what it is. So you're just going to keep on swimming and you're going to get through it and you're going to have a smile on your face because you're not making it super complicated for yourself, right? And just remember that your efforts and your heart are what make the holidays such an extra gift to your family, right? Like this is just, the things are just things, the extras are just extras, but you being with your family and having a good time, those are what your kids are gonna remember, right? And then I'm going to link to this poem in the newsletter that I am writing out to kind of go with this, but I'm going to read it now. Hopefully I don't kind of destroy this poem with my cadence, but it's called A Christmas Carol by Christina Rossetti. And I wanted to read it to like kind of conclude this podcast episode because I feel like it just kind of leads you back to the real reason for the season. And I love the last 4 lines of this poem. So I'm going to read it out loud and then I will say goodbye. It's called A Christmas Carol by Christina Rossetti. In the bleak midwinter, frosty wind made moan. Earth stood hard as iron, water like a stone. Snow had fallen, snow on snow, snow on snow. In the bleak midwinter long ago. Our God, heaven cannot hold him, nor earth sustain. Heaven and earth shall flee away when he comes to reign. In the bleak midwinter, a stable place sufficed, the Lord God Almighty, Jesus Christ. Enough for him whom cherubim worship day and night, breast full of milk and a manger full of hay. Enough for him whom angels fall before, the ox and the ass and the camel which adore. Angels and archangels may have gathered there, cherubim and seraphim thronged the air, but his mother only, in her maiden bliss, worshipped the beloved with a kiss. What can I give him, poor as I am? If I were a shepherd, I would bring a lamb. If I were a wise man, I would do my part. Yet what can I give him? Give him my heart. So that is A Christmas Carol by Christina Rossetti. I'm going to say that again. And now I'm just gonna leave you a little goodbye, but I'm just also gonna quickly mention that our over on Substack, our paid supporters this month are, and I'll link to this actually because I'm just going to kind of post this right now, and then I'll link to the actual link in the show notes and the newsletter. But we are having a video and a holiday I shouldn't say a video. I'm going to link to all of my Google Docs and Google Sheets, and I'm just kind of maybe going to go through them in a video. But it's everything that I use to organize my holiday to-do lists and my holiday gift giving, especially really tracking my gifts and stuff like that. So I'm just going to link to those sheets. They're super, super simple and straightforward. I have address labels that are address label templates in there and stuff like that. So, and then just a couple recipes for freezer meals during December when you want super simple freezer meals that you want to eat for your family just for dinner to make things easier. And I also have one dish that would be a dish that you could bring for the holidays and stuff like that. So those are all in our Google Docs and Google Sheets that I'm going to link to for our paid supporters over on Substack. So if you are one of those, then you will see that email coming to you soon. But yeah, so that is kind of it. Next week, we will be back with another podcast episode and newsletter that is, I'm going to link. So that's what I was going to say. I'm going to change it up because I feel like I was sending a lot of things your way without actually sending them your way. So instead of writing a monthly newsletter, instead of writing it just once a month, I'm actually going to, and it was kind of an extra thing, I'm actually going to make our All Right Whelp episodes kind of how I did with this one, where I'm going to link to the podcast episode, and it's also going to be in newsletter form. So it's going to be both, a written form and a talking form, kind of like this one, where I'm not reading it word for word, but it's just kind of the general gist of the article, right? So next week we will have an All Right Whelp episode, and I will give you some life updates, some favorite links, some fun stuff. And then we'll be back in November with some kid toy organizing, decluttering jazz. So that should be fun. Okay. I will let you go because I've just been blabbing your ear off. So hopefully those 10 ideas and those strategies to simplify your holidays and those guiding questions to kind of help you make wiser decisions around the holidays, hopefully those are helpful to you and you can use those and really think through your holidays with a fresh mind. So, all right, take care, Tash.